I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Tuesday, I was shocked. Wednesday, I was sad. Today, I am fucking furious. Love it or leave it. After Tuesday, I'm still wading through all the feelings brought on by the loss. And since I'm a child who can only eat spinach that's been swirled around like an airplane, I'm going to Trojan horse my emotional excavation in a game we're calling the 5 Stages of Wheel. I'm going to spin the wheel. It's going to land on an emotional stage. I'm going to talk about it, and then we're going to spin it again. I truly don't know which of the 5 stages it is going to land on, and I don't know how I feel. And these are just going to be my raw versions of these emotions. I'm not going to stand by them. Let's spin the wheel. It has landed on depression. I just start crying. It's like that easy. I had a very dark moment earlier today, which was that I actually had a moment where I was really kind of mourning the good that we're not going to get. I know it's instinctive, I think, to focus on what's actually coming, and what's actually coming is quite terrifying, and we have every reason to be afraid, and we have to think about how to mete out that fear in ways that do not destroy us as, in anticipation, right? Like we can rile ourselves up with hypotheticals, but we have to focus on the here and now. But I had this moment where I just indulged in thinking about the delta between the world as we were fighting for and the world that we're going to get. And I realized I had this moment where I just thought, oh, yeah, like I have a great life. I'm a very fortunate person. I have a wonderful family and friends and loved ones. I am very privileged. And I don't know how bad things will get, but I have that. I have those wonderful things. And then I thought, but no matter who you are, no matter what you have, the next 4 years will be worse. We've just signed on for being a bit sadder and more anxious and upset about politics. And there's no changing that now. That is coming for us. And the world that we could have had won't be for a while. And instead, we will have to just sit with this worse experience, and it will be a part of our lives. And we can ignore it for a time and do self-care and tend to our feelings and step away when we have to, and we should step away when we have to. But when we come back, the horror will be there, and it's just waiting for us all the time. And that's going to be a shitty part of the next couple of years. And there's just no reason not to be honest about that. And I'm not going to indulge in this all the time, but that was a feeling I had, which is just the next couple of years are just going to be bad. They're going to be worse than they otherwise would be, no matter how good things get. And playing defense is important, but you don't score any points. And that's really hard. What's the next stage? Was this a good idea? Bargaining. Maybe it won't be so bad. Okay. Listen. Okay. All right. Hear me out. Maybe it won't be so bad, okay? Donald Trump at root wants to be loved. He didn't get enough love as a child. He's never had therapy. He's a broken fucking person. He's very transactional. He loves people who love him. He hates people who hate him. He hurts people who hurt him or don't love him or admire him, and he tries to help the people who serve him. He's transactional. And, he now won. So much of the first 4 years of Trump was about this kind of like this fundamental grievance that here he was, this fucking guy that all he's ever wanted is the respect and admiration of the elites. That's why he calls Maggie Haberman every fucking day and then bashes her on social media, right? And he couldn't have it. Why? Because we called him illegitimate, because he didn't win the popular vote, because of all the interference that went into his winning, the fact that we put an asterisk there because of Comey and all the bullshit and the misogyny and all the rest. And it made him a little bit fucking crazy. Now, I don't think it takes much to make Donald Trump crazy. I think he's crazy out of the packaging. But still, he won a popular vote. He did. And I can't even convince myself of this. But no, but I don't think, I think we still have to, that's it. Maybe it won't be. Yeah, that's the bargaining. That was bargaining. Come on, anger. All right. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Tuesday, I was shocked. Wednesday, I was sad. Today, I am fucking furious. And I think we all, I think this is a challenge, and I think watch me be part of the pontificating and priggish Democratic elite that Bret Stephens hates while using stories about jazz-era chess masters. Look in the mirror, pal. F. Scott Fitzgerald once said, you ever there's this essay called The Crack Up. Has anybody ever read The Crack Up? Anybody? No? Okay. Nobody has. It's fine. There's a series of essays that F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote called The Crack Up. And I love it. And it's dated in all the ways it's dated. Caveats there. Done. But it's really interesting, right? Because this is a person who is clearly struggling with mental illness, depression, addiction, but they don't have the words for it. He didn't have the words for it. They just didn't have the words for it. He didn't have the language for it. He describes what is a serious case of clinical depression. Sleeping all day, making lists. And in it, he talks about the kinds of things he would write down on his list. And one of them were the times he was snubbed by those who were not his better in character or ability. And I think about that all the time, because I do think it's something we all think about, right? The time where we're like, I mean, honestly, that's dating in Los Angeles. But also in that essay, he says a line, which is, I think, relatively famous from the essay, which is the test of a first-rate intelligence is keeping two contradictory eyes in the mind at the same time and still retaining the ability to function, something like that. And I do think we have to keep two ideas in our mind at the same time, which is, I think we shouldn't be in denial. We should face. We made our case to the country. And Donald Trump won this election. He won a majority of voters. A majority of the electorate went in. They had concerns about Donald Trump as a person. They had questions about his character. They had concerns about him as a human being. They do not like him. But a lot of people that do not like him voted for him anyway. That, Ron Brownstein wrote a great piece today that they chose the uncertainty of a different future from the unacceptability of the present. I'm paraphrasing, but some version of that. And that is true, and we should be honest about that. We shouldn't run from that. We shouldn't pretend that isn't true. We shouldn't try to talk our way out of that. That happened, right? That speaks to something about our inability to reach people. That speaks to our inability to build trust with people. That speaks to a disdain for the identity, the brand of the Democratic Party. That is real. We need to be honest about that. We need to figure that out. At the same time, I think it is also okay to feel and think, well, wait a second here. Joe Biden did what we asked him to do domestically. I think there's valid criticism both on policy and politics around Gaza and Israel. But domestically, Joe Biden for 4 years did what we asked him to do. He came in, he built consensus, he brought Bernie Sanders in, he brought Elizabeth Warren in, he brought the moderates in, and he governed as well as anyone could have under the circumstances. In a pandemic, in an economic calamity, he passed the rescue plan. He passed the Inflation Reduction Act. This conservative man, fundamentally, I don't mean politically, but I think institutionally, constitutionally, this conservative man, someone who was always at the very dead center or center right of the Democratic Party, in his old age, was curious enough and open enough to listen and bring everybody in, and he governed in a progressive way. He did what we asked him to do, and he delivered, and that didn't matter. Why? Right? It's not enough to just say, well, people were upset about inflation. Yes, but that was something that happened around the world. There's an answer. There's a case. There's a truth, right? Oh, so they voted for Donald Trump. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris fought harder for working people. Republicans fought those policies every step of the way. Donald Trump's policies will be worse if your biggest issue is inflation. And so people voted based on this issue in a way that is ultimately, I think, counter to what they are hoping to get out of it, right? So that's a failure. What causes that failure? That's Democrats' fault. Absolutely, we should be honest about that. That is a failure over decades to build trust with people who have heard us promise again and again and not deliver, or people not see those differences in their lives. But that's also a media problem. That's a social media problem. That's a Republican propaganda apparatus problem, right? Because part of why Democrats have a brand issue is Democrats' fault. But part of it is because there's a massive Republican propaganda machine that picks out the dumbest fucking college professor or the most extreme dumb statement by a random state Democratic representative or the worst person on the internet and make that a stand-in for all of us all the time. That's what we're coming up against all the time, and we don't have the equivalent on our side. And so I feel like I have these two competing ideas in my head right now, one of which is, what do we do, all right, to answer for the fact that the American people collectively said, we are choosing Donald Trump over what you're offering, while at the same time believing in my bones that if they had the right information, if we had the ability to reach people and get them the information in a way that helped them understand the stakes and the actual choice in this election, we would have won. And yeah, and was this about anger? And also, Joe Biden, I can't tell what I'm madder about with Joe Biden, to be honest. Am I more mad about his decision to seek re-election in the year and a half leading up to the debate, or am I more angry about the month after the debate that he dithered and prevented us from either having a competitive primary or giving Kamala Harris enough time to actually mount an effective campaign? I can't decide which is making me more angry right now, but I don't have to choose. What are the other ones? Oh, I'm not doing acceptance. I'm not doing it.